Today we're taking a closer look at a very specific and honestly often overlooked angle of a highly publicized reality television split. We're going to analyze Dorit Kemsley's recent public divorce strictly through the lens of a protective mother. You know, when the cameras are rolling and those headlines are just splashing across the tabloids, it is incredibly easy to get caught up in the superficial drama. But what happens when you strip all of that away? What happens when you look at the situation purely from the perspective of a matriarch desperately trying to shield her family? Let's take a look.
I want to start right here with a foundational thought. Dorit said, "I've spent the last couple of years mothering really hard and being very protective over them." Now, this isn't just some offhand remark for an interview. This statement is literally the absolute foundation for every single decision she's made during this public split. Because think about it, when your life is on display from millions, your instinct to protect, it goes into massive overdrive. Every choice, from what she says to the press to how she handles her daily household routine, it all stems from this core primal drive to just mother really hard through all the chaos.
Part 1. Reclaiming her own story.
And this brilliantly illustrates something absolutely crucial. Part of protecting her family actually involved taking back total control of her personal narrative. When other people are telling your story or, editing it for entertainment, things get distorted fast. She realized that to build a proper shield for her kids, she first needed to make sure the foundation, the absolute truth of who she is, was solid and came directly from her. On one side, you have reality television. It's inherently edited down, it only shows very specific parts of a life, and frankly, the audience doesn't really get to know the real her. It's a highly curated persona. But on the other side, the memoir. For her, writing a book meant putting the full story out there in her own voice. It's deeply personal, brutally honest, and completely vulnerable. She knew that to be a strong mother, she needed to step away from that edited persona and model the unedited truth. She wants to encourage others, and surely her own kids one day, to live life with courage and absolute transparency.
But, committing that truth to paper, definitely not easy. However, putting your heart and soul onto the pages brings a newfound freedom. She explained that she was initially pretty hesitant. It's naturally fearful and highly emotional to revisit certain memories, mulling over every single chapter, especially when your current life is in such turmoil. But she made a steadfast promise to herself to be fully honest. And the incredible takeaway here is that despite that initial fear, the actual act of writing, of digging deeper into those memories, it became a profoundly freeing and healing experience for her. It wasn't just some side project. It was a crucial step in her own emotional survival.
Part 2. Navigating an acrimonious divorce.
So now we move from that internal, almost therapeutic healing process of writing into the harsh reality of the context in which this book was actually written. Because it's one thing to reflect peacefully on the past, right? It's another entirely to do it while your present world is falling apart. Just take a second to absorb the raw vulnerability here. She said you have to go back to these times that are reminiscent of very happy times, and then you think about your life where you are, and it's soul-crushing. Imagine the psychological toll of that. She's trying to honor accurate, happy memories of her marriage for her book, and, frankly, for her children's future understanding, while simultaneously enduring what she directly describes as an acrimonious split with PK. It's an unbelievable emotional balancing act. To accurately report on the joy of the past without letting the resentment of the present infect it, all while dealing with a soul-crushing reality, that takes immense fortitude.
And that actually leads us to a vital realization. What exactly is a soulmate? It's a profound connection, but Dorit realizes you can actually have more than one. She firmly affirms that PK was indeed a soulmate, and she wouldn't change that, because it gave her 2 incredible kids. Now, she could have easily rewritten history out of anger, right? She could have just claimed it was all a lie from the start. But she didn't. Instead, she demonstrated true resilience by acknowledging the truth of what they had. She recognizes that life throws massive curveballs and accepts that navigating those difficult moments is exactly what makes you stronger, better, and wiser. This is the exact philosophy of resilience she's trying to embody for her family.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how we can quantify the immense frustration she described when trying to find a co-parenting rhythm. Based on her own words, 1 step forward, 9 steps back. That is her current reality with PK. It's an ever-evolving, highly difficult dynamic. They are desperately trying to find a nice rhythm and be reminded of what is really important, which is the kids, obviously. But right now, it is a staggering struggle. It's a very stark, honest admission of exactly how hard it is to co-parent right in the middle of a fresh separation.
Part 3. Shielding children from the spotlight. And this brings us to the absolute most critical part of her journey, shielding her kids from that spotlight. We've seen the emotional toll. We've seen the co-parenting struggles. But how do you practically shield a family when your life is quite literally for public consumption? 12 and 10. These are the ages of Jagger and his sister. I really want to emphasize their youth here because it underscores exactly why she is guarding them so fiercely. They are just kids. They are not equipped to handle the complexities of an acrimonious public divorce, the rumors, the headlines, none of it. And as a mother, her primary overriding directive is to make sure they just don't have to.
So what does that protection actually look like in practice? Well, it looks like strict digital boundaries, no social media, delaying phones for as absolutely late as possible, and navigating the rising peer pressure as friends start getting those phones. Jagger is 12 now, his friends are getting online, so she's right on the cusp of having to deal with this technological peer pressure, but she's holding the line. By enforcing these tech boundaries, she's actively insulating them from the public noise and the inevitable outside commentary about their parents' split. It's a very deliberate, highly tactical parenting choice to keep their world small and safe.
I absolutely love this breakdown because it shows a profound psychological shift. As a public individual navigating this split, Dorit has consciously shifted her locus of control. On one side, we have what she cannot control, PK's actions, and just whatever the future generally holds. But on the other side, what she can control, her own honesty, her strict tech boundaries with the kids, and simply being there for them to get through everything. She realized she just has to deal with whatever comes on any given day, but she can absolutely control her presence as a reliable protective force. They're going to get through whatever lies ahead because she is focusing all her energy right here on the things completely within her grasp.
Part 4. Stepping into the future. Let's move to and see how this builds across her timeline. Because after doing so much heavy emotional lifting, where does a mother actually go from here? Step 1. Processing and mothering hard. Step 2. Healing through writing. Step 3. Ready for the near future. Notice how linear this is. Dating, for example, was completely delayed, and not because she wasn't over PK, but specifically because her bandwidth was entirely consumed by protecting her kids. When your mind is completely focused on your family's survival, you simply don't have the headspace or the energy to be looking for something new. She had to painstakingly work through step 1 and step 2 before she could even entertain the idea of step 3.
And that brings us to where she is right now. She said, "I have reached a place where I'm looking forward to it. It's imminent. I definitely feel like it's in the near future." This just beautifully concludes her narrative arc. After a couple of years of focusing entirely inward on her family's well-being and her own personal healing, she finally feels ready to open herself up to a new chapter. The intense, heavy lifting of that initial protection phase has finally given her the space to look forward to life again.
So the crucial point is, how can prioritizing vulnerability and fierce boundaries redefine a mother's strength during life's most public trials? It's a really fascinating question to leave you with today. Dorit Kemsley's journey shows us that immense power lies not in putting on some flawless, brave face for the reality cameras, but in aggressively protecting your family while rigorously honoring your own truth. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this provided a new, insightful lens on how we view a mother's resilience when the whole world is watching.